Welcome to It's the Economy. India's Ministry of Statistics, or MoSPI, has been on an overdrive, updating all the data series. We now have a new GDP, CPI, IIP series, all of them updated with new base years. Now, the new IIP series was first put out on June 1st, and then within a month, it was revised on June 29th. Why? Because in between, the Commerce Ministry released a new price index called the Producer Price Index, PPI output, which will eventually replace the Wholesale Price Index, the WPI. Now, MoSPI is using this new output PPI series to calculate the IIP, the Index of Industrial Production. Hence, the revision. To understand more about the new IIP series and other data, I have with me none other than the Secretary of the Ministry of Statistics himself, Dr. Saurabh Garg. Dr. Garg, thank you very much indeed for your time. Sir, let me start with my confusion about the IIP itself. Initially, we used to be under the impression that IIP counts how many more televisions were produced, how many more computers were produced, whereas the GDP or GVA, gross value add, counted the input price and the output price of the product and looked at the value added. That was the basic difference we thought between IIP and GVA. Now you are deflating IIP also. So now IIP will also be calculated like GVA?
So let me first clarify that IIP is an output measure only and doesn't calculate value and will continue. The older series was an output value, and the new series is also only an output value.
Okay.
The difference is that in the older series, most of the items were based on volume considerations. But even in the older series, we had around 107 items, or 109 items out of 407, which accounted for 19.2% of the total weight that were measured on the basis of value.
Okay.
In the new series, there are 234 out of 463, as you can see, which comprises about 36% on the basis of value.
Okay.
And the reason why we need to take into account certain items on value are primarily because of three reasons. Number one, where the products are not homogeneous, they are heterogeneous in the same item category. That's one. The second, where there is widely different quality differences between products produced in the same category.
Okay.
And the third is a set of products whose production cycle extends to more than a month. So therefore, during the period, we have to consider a work in progress for a number of items. So for these three items, even in the old series, we did have around 19% value-based. And in the new series, it's 36%. In the old series, for these 90% of the values, we use the WPI to deflate them so that we are actually in the IIP only reflecting the output or the number of quantity that we are reflecting. In the new series, because it's 36% of the total weight of the products is on value basis, we have now switched to the PPI, which internationally is considered to be a better measure than the WPI when we are talking about ex-factory gate. So I think conceptually there's no difference between the two series.
Okay. Yeah, no difference. In that case, will you be, when you're calculating GVA, will you now, the Ministry of Commerce is giving us this PPI output and PPI input on a trial basis. So will you be recalculating all the GVA also of the last 3 years? And if yes, by when will we get it?
We had mentioned earlier that we would be switching from a WPI to PPI. And I think that's a work in progress. And within the next few months, we hope to be able to use the output PPI to deflate the GVA also on an output basis, because it requires a substantial calculations and a validation and a check on the data. So that work is going on. I won't really like to comment on the time frame, but it would be within the next few months. Secondly, as far as the input PPI is mentioned, since it's a new index, it's a trial index, and we will study that data and then take a decision on that.
Okay. So will the new IIP also impact the GDP? I mean, we are going to get the next GDP number on August 29th. At that time, August 29th or 31st, whichever is the last working day.
Yeah.
You know, if you include this new IIP, will the previous GDP and GVA numbers change?
So we are looking at, as I mentioned, we are looking to incorporate the PPI in this the GDP calculations, and the IIP doesn't get directly reflected into the GDP or GVA. The IIP also uses the weights which are based on the national accounts. So in any case, the IIP is the causality, if at all, I would say it goes from GDP to IIP rather than the reverse.
Okay. Okay. So let me then come to the, this PPI series which the Commerce Ministry is releasing. I know it is unfair. It is a Commerce Ministry product, but you are going to use it, you said. Now, when you look at their services PPI, they have 7 indexes, right? 2 of them are on banking. I have not understood why they are different. Why should there be 2 banking PPIs? And then there is one for insurance, one for securities transaction and pension calculation. Now, first of all, what is the difference between the 2 banking? And will it start reflecting in August 29th or by the next GDP number?
Yes, so one is a banking services price index and there's a banking services contribution index.
Okay.
So what is really relevant is the price index, because price index has both, it deflates both the direct services which are offered and secondly, which are offered as an intermediary. Both are accounted for in the price index. The difference in the contribution index is the fact that while there is no difference between the direct services offered, in the indirect services or the intermediation services, the weightage for the different intermediation services also adds on to it the growth of that particular intermediation service between the last year and this year. And it gives an indication of the contribution that intermediate service is providing in the total value of the output that the banking industry is providing. So as far as GDP is concerned, where we are bothered about the price differences rather than the overall contribution that it makes to the revenue or the profits of the banking services, which the contribution index provides, our focus is on the price index.
Got it. So, but if you looked at the 7 indexes, most of them are on finance. One is banking, insurance, securities, transaction. Can we get those 7 items up again? And then there is, of course, telecom and transportation. But when you look at our GDP, there is a lot more services. Only one item, finance, real estate, etc., includes banking. Then there is trade, transportation, broadcasting, etc. Then there is professional services. None of these is available. How will you deflate that? You will continue to use CPI?
Yes. So on this, there are 2 things. One is that PPI services is essentially looking at it from the producer's point of view. In most of the services, the consumption is at the time of production itself. Unlike in goods, where there might be some logistical differences involved or logistical issues involved, there would be trade margins and there would be transport, etc. In most services, that really is not the case, except a few. So as a starting point, the Ministry of Commerce and Industry has brought out this services index, which covers these 7 services. Based on one is on data availability, number 2 is on the need for a separate PPI services, which is substantially different from the CPI for that particular service. And third, on the frequency of the data availability, this PPI services may get worked upon, expanded, improved as we go along. So as a starting point, we are at these 7 services, and let's see how we proceed based on need and feasibility.
Okay. There is no chance that all this will be merged into the MoSPI. It makes more sense for the Ministry of Statistics to handle WPI also, isn't it? Or PPI, as the case may be. But it's going to continue with 2 different ministries?
I think there are advantages on either. You can talk about both the advantages and disadvantages on either it be. But I think it's in Ministry of Commerce and Industry. We work very closely with them, and I don't think there's any problem in that.
Okay, fair enough. No, I was just asking because you all seem to be the professional statistics, unit. The other thing is, you all give IIP on 29th, GDP on 30th, CPI on 12th or 13th. Can the data be given together? That makes, that helps, rather than giving data all through the month. Every week there's something coming. And any chance that we should be able to get IIP and CPI together?
A lot of this depends on when the data is available and how fast we want to do it. For example, CPI we bring out within 12 days of the end of the month, which internationally is among the fastest that the inflation numbers are out. For industrial production, and CPI is based on our people. We have people on the ground who go week to week, day to day in the previous month and collect the data on tablets, which gets uploaded into our platform on the cloud, and we are able to do that processing so fast. For IIP, the data comes from the factories. Okay. The factories obviously need time after the end of the month to upload that data, and then we need to validate it and then check it and then compile it. So there is a difference in the method of collection. It would not be, I think, wise for us to delay CPI to ensure that we meet the timelines of IIP. And IIP, if you remember, we used to bring it out 42 days, yes, which timed well with the CPI of the next month, but it meant that we got the IIP data 42 days later. That's right. Now we are doing it within 28 days, which again is extremely quick. Okay, so I think the balance would be between doing it quickly and then trying to get all the data together. Okay. And I'm sure it helps you to analyze each piece of the data separately in any case.
All right, fair enough, fair enough. I was just wondering if we could, that system also had its advantages. Very quickly, sir, out of time, just one question. Because the PPI services index, which the Commerce Ministry released, is actually showing a fall in prices in banking, insurance, and I think even in securities transaction, it is falling. Now, that gives the impression that the GVA will be revised higher in the months to come. Is that a good guess?
So it depends, number one, on the weight of that particular service. What is the weight in the overall GVA? So that will determine what is the impact that would happen. And second is GVA is, we are calculating based on the input and output difference. So I think it's too early to really comment on what would be the impact on the overall GDP because of a price deflator being slightly lower in one set of area.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. It's only one element, but it does look like there is an upward bias. Dr. Garg, we have lots more questions, but you all are going to give us, for the first time, a services price index, a services production index as well, ISP, on July 14th. I'll take a rain check from you, literally, and ask you those questions after the ISP is released. Thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you. Happy to be here.